You keep missing your blessing because you're too focused on the thing God never promised and not focused enough on the obedience He's been whispering about for months. Yes, the very thing you keep putting off, excusing, delaying, rationalizing, while praying for a miracle with hands that won't move and a heart that won't surrender. And the truth is, delayed obedience is still disobedience. And the blessing you keep begging for is already written into your obedience. Not your comfort, not your timing, not your idea of how God should move, but in your willingness to say yes before you even understand what He's doing. Just like Abraham, who got up early and walked up that mountain not knowing God would provide the ram. Genesis 22. And yet here you are, still asking God to bless what you refuse to lay down. Your pride, your timeline, your relationships, your fear, your idols. Yes, idols. Not the kind carved from stone, but the ones you've built in your mind. The ones that sound spiritual but are rooted in self. Like, I'm just waiting on God. When really God is waiting on you to tear down the altar you built around your feelings. And finally trust Him enough to step into what's next, even when it doesn't look safe. Because faith was never about safety. It was about surrender. And blessings don't chase those who remain in rebellion cloaked in routine. They chase those who move even when it hurts, who pray even when heaven is silent, who worship with tears running down their face, who walk away from what looks good because they know it isn't God. And some of you keep asking the Lord for peace but won't let go of the thing that's been stealing it, asking for clarity but refusing to sit in silence long enough to hear it, praying for increase while living in compromise. And this is your warning. Stop expecting God to bless what you refuse to consecrate. He will not compete with what you secretly worship. And maybe the real reason you haven't seen breakthrough isn't because God hasn't moved, but because you're still holding on to the very thing He told you to leave behind. Like Lot's wife in Genesis 19:26, who turned around because her heart never left, even though her feet did. And if you're honest, your mouth is saying, "Yes, Lord," but your heart is still hoping God will let you keep the thing He asked you to release. But He won't, because He's not blessing your comfort. He's calling you higher, and higher requires holiness, not perfection, but purity of intention. He's looking at your posture more than your words. And some of you pray loud but live soft, speak faith but act in fear, and God is saying, I've already sent the blessing, but your hands are too full to receive it, so drop it, whatever it is. Drop the bitterness, drop the secret sin, drop the idea that your way is better, and pick up the cross again. Not the version of Christianity that just checks boxes, but the kind that costs something. Because every true blessing in the Bible followed obedience. Not just belief, and even demons believe, James 2:19. So belief alone isn't the mark, obedience is, surrender is, sacrifice is. And the blessing won't come just because you cry. It'll come because you trust Him enough to do it His way. Even if it means walking through fire. Even if it means walking alone. Even if it means starting over. And that's where most people miss it. They pray and expect God to do everything while they do nothing, forgetting that faith without works is dead. James 2:17. And maybe your biggest breakthrough is one act of obedience away, one hard decision away, one moment of not my will but yours be done away. But you won't get there if you keep letting your feelings be louder than your faith. If you keep expecting God to bless disobedience just because He loves you. Because yes, He loves you, but He disciplines those He loves. Hebrews 12:6. And sometimes what you call a delay is actually protection. Because the blessing you keep asking for would crush you without the character to carry it. And you think it's unfair. But God is more concerned with your becoming than your arrival. More invested in your holiness than your platform. And if He's quiet, it's not because He's absent, it's because He's waiting for you to lay down what He never asked you to carry. And until you do, you'll keep circling the same mountain, keep repeating the same patterns, keep wondering why nothing's changing. And I came to tell you with all the urgency in my spirit. The door is open, the blessing is ready, but it requires a level of surrender you haven't stepped into yet. And when you finally do, when you finally stop trying to earn it and just yield, stop asking for signs, and start obeying what he already said, stop clinging to counterfeit comfort and start chasing his presence again, you'll realize the blessing wasn't just something to receive, it was someone to become. And he's been trying to form that version of you all along. Not the one who only worships when it's easy, but the one who stands in the fire and still says, "You are still good." Not the one who asks, "God, where are you?" every time things get hard, but the one who declares, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." Job 13:15. And if you want the blessing, you've got to want the blesser more. And until you do, everything else will feel empty. Everything else will feel just out of reach. Because you weren't created to chase blessings. You were created to walk with God. And the blessings follow those who walk with him. Not perfectly, but persistently. Not for applause, but out of love. And the challenge right now is simple. Pray and examine, surrender and obey. Because the real reason you keep missing your blessing isn't that God forgot you. It's that he's still waiting for your full yes.